Making a video. Yeah, Thunderfoot response video. I used a clip of mine. I love that he wasted time getting clips from whatever Google Plus rooms, hours of crap. But anyway, I guess somebody probably gave him the clip, but it doesn't matter. Glad he used it. Yeah, I really am, and I'll show you how he uses it. Also is also important. Because it's just to make an argument. This guy's supposed to have supposed to be some sort of scientist, and have a scientist's mentality. Let's say there is such a thing, and I think there should be such a thing. And they should be able to see like obvious cheats, or when you're using cartoons and distortions of the reality, just painting Hitler mustaches on things. That's cheating. If you have to resort to that in an argument, scientists would say, yeah, that's, even though scientists are nerdy and kind of dickless and all that kind of stuff, they have their own sense of swords and honor. And that's like, for a scientist, I think that would be like, that's being really limp dick. When you have to resort to that kind of shit, that's like, yeah, you might as well be wearing a strap on. You can't get up, right? You got no mojo. If you have to resort to these kind of bullshit, Three Stooges music or something, Keystone Cops or whatever. You have to get your music from like 1919 to make your argument. yeah, your argument must suck. His argument does suck. So I'll just bring up a couple of things. I mean, Thunderfoot's he doesn't have much integrity, and he doesn't take any accountability for when he says something stupid. So he finds clips, he quote mines the rest of the world and says, okay, there, you said something stupid. And especially when he takes it out of context, which he does to these women all the time. He just takes their little comments out of the context of the whole conversation and pretends they just said something like, kill all the Jews, when they really said, kill all the Jubies in my orange juice or something. I mean, he is cheating the argument. I'll do the rape thing first. Okay, let's understand Thunderfoot's scientific mind analysis on the subject of rape. So he's going to make public videos about a subject for which he's done no thinking. And look, let's say he is a scientist. Okay, he has an informed and intelligent mind. You have to do zero thinking to be able to believe that only women who are raped go to the police. And that's what he said. If a woman's really raped, she goes to the police. That's what he said. And anybody who thinks about it, just for a little tiny, especially a woman, but certainly women know this, but any man who really thinks about the subject for just a second or two, it's going to occur to them that, wait a minute, it's a private relationship. There's no way a woman could prove anything unless she documented his behavior, unless she had a video camera in the room or something. Unless she was doing something covert. There's no way she could prove her claim of rape unless she allows him to actually break her face or do something truly and catastrophically damaging. Not a little bruise, because then they could just make the accusation that she hit herself. I mean, this is what, so I mean, women they don't get to go to court, okay, with something called the truth, because the truth in the bedroom isn't going to be something most people are going to want documented, right? It didn't happen on a public street. It doesn't happen somewhere where they caught it on somebody's cell phone. And so it's always going to be some woman's word against a man's word. And again, like I said, you can just imagine that if the woman said, okay, yeah, if she doesn't get her jaw broken, you're going to say she wasn't raped. So now we're back to the argument that if she doesn't resist enough, you're not going to say she was raped. I mean, this total redefinition of what the concept is here. And the concept is the woman's right to consent is violated. That's the rape. And like I said, anybody who thinks about it a little bit understands that this is not a simple issue. It's a complex issue. And there's no way, you just don't say something, a scientific mentality wouldn't say something as silly, and it's grotesquely silly to tell a woman, if you don't go to the cops, you weren't raped. Because there's no point in going to the cops, right? I mean, first you're going to have to be humiliated, because you're going to be essentially raped by the medical industrial complex to gather evidence. And the evidence isn't going to be evidence of rape, it's going to be evidence of sex. So you're going to go to court with evidence that you had sex with a guy, not with evidence that you were raped by a man. So again, it's just such a, and so yeah, so in one of these little cartoons, there was a guy who said something like, Thunderfoot, you're an insensitive son of a bitch, or SOB or something. And it's like, yeah, isn't that the height of insensitivity, when you can't imagine somebody else's circumstance and recognize that, what a woman just doesn't, she is in a vulnerable and delicate circumstance. And I wonder how Thunderfoot would feel if he had to live by his own standards, which are, don't go out. Okay? Well, anyway, it doesn't really matter to make the argument, but I mean, he talks about how he almost got attacked by a mountain lion. And I guess his statement would be, well, that's a risk I was willing to take. And that's how he thinks women should feel about just being able to go for a walk at night, or take a walk in a park. If there's not somebody around, if somebody's cell phone isn't nearby, they should say, no, I can't go there. And that should be okay. That should be okay with all of us. All of us should say that's the way it should be. I should have the right to go for walks in parks, but women shouldn't. And that's his argument. It's her fault. So that's another one of his arguments is if women don't want to get raped, well, then they shouldn't have fun with men. They shouldn't drink with men. They shouldn't go to bars with men. They shouldn't do anything with men if they don't intend to get raped that night. That's his philosophy. His philosophy is they should be in burqas, which is ironic since he wants to kill all the Arabs. I think killing all the Arabs is a great idea, but I just don't, I just think this is a stupid reason. You can't say this, kill all the Arabs because of the burqa thing, when you're basically advocating that, yes, I can see exactly what these Arab lunatics are thinking. Women are dangerous. They make you rape, so cover them so you won't rape them. I mean, he's saying the same thing. And he's doing it in this duplicitous, hypocritical way where, like I say, if I was going to use his tactics, I could, play the video where he's in the hot tub or swimming pool or whatever it is with the two chicks in the bikinis drinking, and he's wearing a woman's bikini. And just play that video and say, well, why is Thunderfoot doing that? Why isn't he explaining to those two girls that they're compromising their safety and that they'll have no right, to claim rape, okay, if something goes wrong? Why wasn't he explaining to them that they were doing something totally inappropriate, illogical, irrational in trusting him? Because he's a hypocrite, right? He's a duplicitous motherfucking hypocrite. Okay. I can make other arguments about, Thunderfoot's fallibility, just in the sense of the few personal conversations I've had with him. I mean, personal in the sense of face-to-face online. I brought up antinatalism in a room once with him. And his argument was antinatalism will defeat itself, you see, because the antinatalists don't reproduce. See, philosophy is genetic. And so once the antinatalists all die out, there won't be any new ones. Because, of course, I was bred by antinatalists, of course. My parents were strict antinatalists, and that's why wait a minute, yeah, that couldn't be possible. I must have been birthed by natalists. So there's absolutely no connection genetically between the philosophy and the biology. Maybe that's true of all ideas even. Ideas really shouldn't be genetic, should they? Yeah, I don't think they are. Maybe you should do some scientific research, like 5 seconds of thought, and you might be able to figure out that there's probably no connection between any philosophical idea and genetics. But anyway, scientist. So I just play this clip and I'll just explain. I'll just defend in the sense. I mean, I think I made a perfectly valid argument. Actually, I expressed my opinion. So this is like part of the quote mining thing. I mean, this clip has got to be what, 5 years old? I mean, I think this is the Muslim nut, right? And so this goes way back to when the Muslim nut outed him at his school or something, because he was doing this whole shock and awe. We ought to shock and awe the Muslims into submission. You know, he's making his might makes right argument. You know, because we got nukes and we got all these big giant airplanes and we got all these cruise missiles, we should win automatically because we've got to be cooler because we have better bombs. It's essentially his argument. You know, we should win the argument because we have a bigger gun. I mean, it's just really kind of silly. We should win the argument because Muhammad is a fantasy bullshit character, and the whole fucking religious thing in the first place is goddamn stupid. There's no fucking God. That's why we should win. Not because we're fucking got bigger bombs.
Alright, I do hate these assholes, and I hate the evil they do. Period. I don't have any empathy or concern for their welfare whatsoever. They're
So
fucking
don't care if they end up in the hospital.
I don't care where. I hope he ends up with a telephone pole rammed right the fuck up his ass, because that's what he deserves. He deserves to be raped for eternity.
Yeah, now what's wrong with that? He deserves, right? So that's my theory. My theory is that deserve should have something to do with it. That's rational. Like logical people and sensible and scientific-minded kind of people, they should say, well, there's these two choices. Should life have something to do with deserve, or should life have something to do with just bullshit and might makes right? And I'm saying, no, deserve should have everything to do with it, okay? So it's like if you're defending Hitler, then yeah, you should be a lampshade. And if you're defending rapists, essentially what Thunderf00t's doing is defending, they can't help it. The poor little rapist can't control himself. You know, it's them women's fault for showing their boobs. They're trying to get raped. They were trying to make him rape her. So he deserves it. He deserves to get exactly what he's defending existing. He's basically making excuses for men not to feel totally humiliated by bad male behavior and to be totally focused on saying, shit, it's really up to men to fix the problem because it's a male problem, rape. And it really is. The perpetrators are men. True.
As that harassment is, as someone had mentioned, it's not just what is legal and illegal, right? Harassment is threats of violence, but it's also the day-to-day grind of you're a liar, you suck.
Where I hope.
So I mean, he played her clip like 3 times of her saying that, and like that somehow there's something irrational in that statement, and there really isn't. There's this whole ground that can't be legislated, especially in the relationship between men and women historically. And if you're going to do this pretending thing, that this isn't a real thing that happens in the world where women are talked down because men are aggressive, they are. And women can be intimidated out of their voice by that aggression. Men roar louder, whatever you want to say, and they talk over. And this isn't something that you're going to legislate, but it's something, if we're all aware of it, maybe we can do better now. And certainly what we can do is better in the future, and that we can try to maturate the next generation into not having our vices. Would there be something wrong with us saying, I'd like the next generation to be better than me? To do better? Yeah, I don't think so. Oh, poo. I don't know where I get that. Later.
hope he ends up with a telephone pole rammed right the fuck up his ass, because that's what he deserves. He deserves to be raped for eternity.
Yeah. Okay, so that's enough, right? I say yes. I say that's true. I'd say Thunderfoot should get what he deserves. So if you think he deserves some sort of, trophy for defending the right of men to rationalize and make excuses for compromising women's consent and violating is the only word you can really use, right? I mean, just taking advantage, period, in ways that we all would find wrong. If I was going to sell my house, I don't have a house, but let's say I was going to sell my house, and I got somebody drunk and got them to sign a contract. I mean, everybody knows that would be bullshit. And so why can't we just call it bullshit when somebody takes advantage, knows the woman didn't intend to get drunk, gets them drunk, and then takes advantage? Why can't we call that wrong? What's the big deal? So again, what are these men, what are they whining about? They'll call them like Wambla or something. They're talking about these social justice warriors being little sissy crybabies because they're saying that, yeah, maybe deserve should have something to do with it. Maybe we should have some kind of ideal. Maybe we should try to be more perfect. And yes, give people rights wherever possible. Respect people's rights wherever possible. That's whining. But these silly men who, what? They're whining because somebody's saying it's wrong to take advantage of somebody, to exploit. It's wrong. It's wrong to say it's wrong to exploit. No, I don't think so. So, but instead of dealing with an argument that one of these people makes, Thunderfoot just plays these cartoon games. Let's just make it, see, this is a Thunderfoot image. This is the way the intellectuals have to communicate, is I have to reduce it to a cartoon. Because he can't make an argument. So, and then he plays, like I said, all these clips trying to imply that everybody else's argument is just some sort of hate speech, and all his argument is some perversion of the truth, yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to say quote mine again, but it's just this perversion of it. It's a straw man argument. It's not even straw man. It's gristle man. I mean, it's just this selective pulling pieces out of something and then saying this is what the thing is, and it's not what it is. It's your bastardization of the truth. And so he beats a perversion of reality. And it's not what scientists are supposed to be doing. So anyway, I'd like to have an argument about with Phil about something about physics. Yeah, do a 2-slit experiment video, Phil. I'll see if you get it right. Yeah. Anyway, so that's whatever. I don't get the whole combination of these subjects. It's really, but he did this back in the old Venom Fang X days. The same thing. I mean, here you have this slam dunk argument with these silly creationists, and he had to resort to, playing their clips over and over to make them look ridiculous. Taking Venom Fang X's 900 and taking 0.001% of a representation of Venom Fang X's videos, that is the video where he's wearing a Batman costume, and arguing with that instead of arguing with the actual arguments. And that's just, in my opinion, right? Gotta have a small penis to argue like that. Yeah. I think that's what Thunderfoot has. He has butt ugly small penis syndrome. Yeah. 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 Yeah, I think that. Alright, anyway. That's enough. Till next time. But yeah, there's no. I mean, I just, you know, again, I've said this before, but I'll just say it again. I mean, this whole idea that feminism, that this whole argument between men and women has to be this, you know, oh, it's like the arguments on economics. It always ends up being an argument between, you know, Stalin and Rockefeller, and there's just nothing in between, and it's just wrong to do that. There's lots in between. And in the subject of feminism, there's a lot in between, you know, some sort of radical, you know, some woman who wants to neuter men, and these men, you know, the worst of them, who are just, you know, some sort of, you know, barefoot and pregnant ideology that's just so moronic. But there's a lot in between, and it's unfortunate that people like Thunderfoot keep trying to pigeonhole everybody because they see lots of room for improvement, that they're trying to cut somebody's nuts off. Bullshit. I just don't think it's right for men to rape women. I think that's bad. I think it's wrong. And I think men should make sure, do everything they can, honorable men, to make women have reason to trust them, and to have reason to feel safe in a male populated world. Yeah. That's enough. Pretty much. Yeah, and I don't want women just to be tarts. I guess that's there is that other side to it. I mean, yeah, you like this, you know, in the bedroom kind of thing. But I you know, I also like the idea of women being human, you know, not being reduced to, you know, I mean, there could be alternative image here, some muscle-bound Beach Boy kind of thing. I don't want either one of those representing the human race. Okay, I mean, I don't want the tart or the whatever you call it. I don't want either one of those to be the poster child for what is to be human. And so I can recognize that if I'm going to be, if I want a fair representation of what it is to be a man, to be on the poster, then you have to give women the same right, the same entitlement to be more than candy, you know, for sexual pleasure. Anyway, enough. Yeah, that's probably enough.